Yep, and we're live. And thanks a lot, everyone, for coming out here. And welcome to another stream on the Avengers. This is part two in what's going to end up being maybe a five-part series of basically um, an overview of all the team members of the main Avengers team. Okay, so I won't be covering any splitter team like the West Coast Avengers or the Zombie Avengers or the Republican Avengers, that kind of stuff. So with me as usual, as you saw last week, is John Rabies, aka Dog. So what's going on, Dog?
Not a whole lot. Just hanging in there along with everybody else there. Great to be back here with you, Ninja. And we did the 60s last time, so now we're going to get into the groovy 70s.
Yeah, and arguably, I think the 70s was probably like the greatest age of the Avengers, and because there were some really, really good storylines that basically were written during this period, and in Avengers history, and a couple of really good writers like Steve Englehart and Jim Shooter that you may or may not know if you're a big comics book fan. But anyway, let's go ahead, and why don't we go ahead and start with, firstly, a fun fact about the Avengers during this time period here. Well, during this time period, in one of my favorite, probably my favorite Avengers saga of all time, which was the Korvac saga, which is a really good storyline back in like 77/78. This is when we had the original Guardians of the Galaxy teamed up with the Avengers. And do you know anything about the original Guardians of the Galaxy? As opposed to like the movie Guardians of the Galaxy, which is complete, BS in terms of like who they are.
Not a whole lot, actually. I mean, I knew a little bit about Mantis, but
okay,
but I didn't really get into Guardians of the Galaxy much, so that's why.
Yeah.
Like when that film came out, I was like, I don't know if I'm even going to like this. Do I even want to see this? But it's supposed to tie in, so I checked it out, but I kind of enjoyed it. It was just a good popcorn flick to me.
Yeah, well, the original Guardians of the Galaxy didn't have Mantis, but what it did have is basically one guy who was like super powerful called Starhawk, right? And then you had representatives of each of the planets in our solar system basically being part of the team, right? So you had Vance Astro, he's a telepath who represented Earth, right? Then you had Charlie 5, who was really, really strong, and he represented Jupiter because of the high gravity of the planet, right? And then you had this dude that basically was like a Hawkeye, right? Called Yondu, and he represented Neptune. Yeah. I don't know how Neptune correlates with being good at archery, but he was there, right? and then he had one.
Have you seen the Guardians of the Galaxy films?
No, I haven't seen any of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
So Yondu's a big part in it. So he's got he whistles and he's got this arrow that, I mean, he's just he's like. He's probably the most powerful thing in that universe, or he's like one rung below the main bad guy or something.
Yeah.
His power or whatever, right? So once he gets that arrow going, you might as well just surrender, or it just lights out for everyone pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I know about the current Guardians of the Galaxy, or the movie version, or whatever I want to call them now, is basically you have a talking tree and you have a raccoon that knows how to fly spaceships, and there's some dude, right, that's in charge of them, and he's human, right? Star-Lord, right, wherever his name is, right? Those are the only three guys I know. So there's more, right? There's a couple of women in there, right? Like what's that green woman who died in Avengers? Yeah, Gamora.
Yeah,
she's in there, right?
Nebula, right? Nebula's her sister.
Yeah, something like that. And that's all I know. And then that one dude who's strong. What's the dude? Who's the dude that's strong in that team?
Thor?
No, on Guardians of the Galaxy. What's his name?
Yeah,
Thor?
Star-Lord and Drax the Destroyer, right?
Is that his name, Drax?
Yeah, the Drax the Destroyer, I think his name.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, which is interesting, that name, because I might mention it later on.
Yeah, that wrestler guy, Batista, he plays him.
All right. So anyway, that's pretty cool. Fun fact. No, yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy teamed up with the Avengers in a major storyline in the '70s, and my favorite Avengers storyline of all time. And let's get into a recap from last week. So these are the '60s, right? And who we had there, right? We had the five founders, right? Founding fathers, if you will, or founding people, if you will. I should say fathers.
Yeah,
Yeah,
kind of the Mount Rushmore, I guess.
exactly. Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Wasp, and the Hulk, right? And then Captain America joins in there. Hawkeye, Quicksilver, Scarlet Witch after him.
The
The Swordsman, only for one issue, then he gets expelled because he was a bad guy working for the Mandarin. Then you got Hercules, right? And because every team needs a strong guy, right? And he's pretty much the strongest guy in the Marvel universe in terms of not like non-extraterrestrial kind of being, right? Even though he is kind of like extraterrestrial, he's more like is he terrestrial but just lives in another realm? Or is he an extraterrestrial?
Yeah, I mean, well,
being a god.
I think they're from the same mythos, right? Or
Yeah. Hercules is Greek, and Thor's Norse, but
Mars.
But are gods considered an extraterrestrial versus, say, like an actual alien, like a badass alien?
Yeah, that's always been my main question. I'm always like, you know what? I'm going to take, Superman to me could whoop Thor and Hercules. But he's really an alien, where these guys are. Really.
Yeah. So
And
Thor.
I'm a little biased to DC, but I'm just saying that Superman could take both of those guys down.
All right, but do you think Thor and Hercules, even though their origins are based terrestrially, right, off of Earth, right, but they're just from a different realm, right? Would you still consider that an extraterrestrial?
I mean, yeah, you actually would have to.
Okay.
All right. He's an alien from another planet, really, if you will, even if he's from another realm.
Okay.
Okay. Well, if he came down just as ET had come down, right, to do his science projects or things of that nature, right? I mean, Odin just like zaps, Thor down to Earth. In our MCU universe, of course, right? But I mean, he's essentially he's an alien as well. He's not necessarily a god. I guess he's a god because maybe he's on a different plane.
Yeah,
and you actually need this. You actually need this bridge, to cross over into our plane, sort of thing.
Yeah, but he's a god because of people on Earth, right? I mean, terrestrials.
When I'm thinking about it, Krypton is on the same plane as us. It's just a hell of a lot farther away.
Yeah, I mean that to me is no debate of him being extraterrestrial. Okay, I guess gods though, I mean they originate from the Earth, right? Belief from the peoples on Earth, right? That's why they're gods, right? Because people on Earth created them, devised them, right?
Right. Yeah.
One way or another.
Their strength is based on the belief of the people.
Yes. So if they are based on the belief of the people on Earth, on terrestrial people, right? Does that make them still extraterrestrials, even though they live on different planes? That's the question.
Yeah, I just think that yes, they would be called that.
Okay.
I think that whoever works for Shield, or Homeland Security, if you will, that they would call it that alien that looks like
all right,
ET, obviously, right. But if Thor came down or Superman, they would call them extraterrestrials as well.
All right, and
that's my guess. I'm not saying they necessarily would, but I think that they would qualify.
It is definitely a philosophical debate, Peter, and I mean, somebody may get a PhD in this one day, just basically trying to solve that argument. So anyway, thanks a lot for that. And so after Hercules, okay, then we have the Black Panther, Vision, and to close out the '60s, the last Avengers recruit in the '60s was the Black Knight. All right, so now let's get into who officially joined the main team in the 70s. Okay, I'm not saying who actually appeared earlier and then just kind of hung around the Avengers or did their own thing in the 60s and then joined the 70s. I'm saying who actually joined the 70s. Okay, so you will see people who have been around for at least 10 years who actually finally joined the Avengers in the 70s. And we're going to start off with the first person who joined in Avengers 111, 1973. Any guesses on this? Dog, looking at that cover, basically they're fighting Magneto, master of magnetism.
I remember, I think it's like Archon joins up or somebody like that, but I might be wrong. Mm-hmm. I know he's yelling at Daredevil there, but I don't think it's Daredevil quite yet.
No, it is the Black Widow finally joins. Black Widow joins. She's a founder in the movies, which is completely wrong, right? When you compare it to the comics. I mean, she doesn't actually join till 100 issues in. But her first appearance was actually in Tales of Suspense 52, which was in 1964, right? She was a Russian spy back then who happened to be Hawkeye's girlfriend for a while. She was actually offered membership in 45, but turned it down after she helped him with some mission. Okay, but turned it down, so wasn't officially a member, right? Anyway, her power is expert tactician, hand-to-hand combat, secret agent, right? Supposedly she has slowed aging. I mean, I don't know how, because they never got into the backstory. Maybe they retconned her origin, post-Y2K after I stopped reading, said, yeah, she's a mutant or something like that, or she took some super serum like Captain America.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah. Some type of derivative of the Captain America serum or something.
Exactly, yeah. And then expert marksman and master of various other weapons, like James Bond, essentially. Not really that high in the power curve, but, she's okay, right? So that's the Black Widow for you. And so we're going to get into, and then you can see, I mean, that was her 70s costume, which was pretty cool. And then her 60s costume, when she first appeared, was definitely 60s. Right, dog?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. She looked like a really bad Batman TV show villain, when she first appeared in the comics. She does.
Yeah, that's Mrs. Freeze.
Yeah, she does. Anyway, so let's get into our next recruit here, and this recruit basically officially joined in giant-sized Avengers #4. Giant-sized comics were big in the 70s. It basically was like double or three times the thickness of a regular comic book. And they can charge them for 50 cents, so a lot more, three times the price of a regular comic book. But this person was basically officially joined in 1975 in this issue. Who do you think that would be?
This issue.
Yeah. And on the cover.
Yeah, this is obviously the wedding of Vision and Scarlet Witch, and then Scarlet Witch left. And it wasn't was it definitely a female?
It was a female, and you mentioned her name earlier on.
Oh, and I mentioned her name.
Yes.
Archon? Wasn't
there? No, it was Mantis.
Mantis.
Mantis joined. Oh, okay. Mantis joined in this issue. And her first appearance was actually in Avengers 112, which was immediately right after the Black Widow officially joined. But that's her first appearance in 1973. But she didn't actually officially join until 2 years later. She was kind of hanging out with the Avengers, right? Staying at their mansion just for the hell of it for a while, because she was such a weird, exotic, extraterrestrial kind of looking person. anyway, her powers, right? Master martial artist, okay, empathy, okay, plant manipulation, accelerated healing factor, astral projection, and energy projection. I don't know, like in the movies, if she has this power. I think she probably has empathy, right?
I'm not sure about the projectile thing. Yeah. But basically, if she touches you, she can make you feel. Yeah. She can basically put any type of emotion into you.
Sounds like empathy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then she can put you to sleep, of course.
Okay.
And then there was something else that she can do like that. Yeah, it's her. She can basically read your mind as well.
Oh, okay.
So not only when she touches you, she can read your mind, not your deepest thoughts, all that kind of stuff. but she can also make you feel like if she wanted to make you feel like super sad or super happy, she could basically do that.
Is she a master martial artist in the movies?
Not like that. No, no.
All right. I mean, you see that picture in the bottom right there, right? I mean, she's basically judo throwing, Scarlet Witch and Thor. It looks like in that
No,
picture.
I can't recall her really having like a Bruce Lee moment or something like that.
All right.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a scene where Spider-Man's just like, please don't put eggs in me. He's thinking that she's like from Aliens or something.
Oh, okay.
But then you see Spider-Man like catching her, kind of like she kind of becomes a damsel sort of thing, But
Okay.
she's pretty powerful though.
Okay. Yeah. And no, this was the 70s, right? So any character introduced in the 70s is going to have a wild outfit, and check that outfit out, dog.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Pretty wild, isn't it? So, yep, that is Mantis, and that villain over there is Kang the Conqueror. He's a
Yeah.
time traveling villain. Good old Kang the Conqueror. So now we're gonna go into Avengers 151, 1976, and in this issue, okay, this was like almost a redux of Avengers number 16. Basically, 3 new Avengers joins the team. Basically, for the second time, right? A lot of the founding Avengers, and the favorite Avengers, right? They decided to take another break, okay, for whatever reason. And basically, they basically stick, I think, Iron Man or something like that with a bunch of newbies. And who do you think? Who do you think joins in this?
Oh, it looks like Beast is there.
You got it. Yeah, Beast is one of those. Yeah. Yeah. Or they stick Vision. I think they stick Vision.
Vision's in there.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch.
Mm-hmm.
And who are these other ones over?
Well, yeah, well, it's not in the cover, so I'm going to tell you that right now. But you got Beast, which is cool. Yeah, the first person is Beast. Yeah, his first appearance was actually in X-Men #1. Yes, people, he was an original X-Men. Wow. Okay, back in 1963, and basically he was actually kind of like in human form back then, right? He just had like oversized feet and hands, but he was just as dexterous. But anyway, he actually hung out with the Avengers for like a while, okay, for a couple of years as a probationary member. Okay, starting in Avengers 137. Yeah, this is during the time where the Avengers were big into probationary members, right? Sort of like when you start a job, right? You got a 6-month probation period. Well, for the Beast, it was like a 2-year probation period. So that was in terms of like in terms of how much time it took to actually make him one with 12 issues a year, right? Anyway, his powers, right? Genius level intellect, formerly enlarged hand and feet. Now, in the Avengers version of the Beast, right? Basically a feline-like physiology. Right, he has purple fur, essentially, or blue fur, whatever you want to call him. Anyway, superhuman strength, speed, agility, durability, balance, senses, reflexes, endurance, coordination. He's a beast, right? Essentially, sharp claws and teeth, and he's really funny too. He's a really funny character in the comic books, especially when he reverted into this beast form here. So he has. I think he was the first one that popularized that term. Like, good morning, ladies and germs.
Oh,
that was him.
Yeah.
That was him who did it in the comics.
I wonder if he was talking to Ant-Man or something.
Ladies and germs. That was his thing. So anyway, yeah, that was the Beast. Anyway, there's 2 other people that actually officially joined, and these other members were also probationary members for a while, kind of hanging out with the Avengers before they actually became full-fledged members. And one was Moondragon.
Dragon, yeah.
Yeah, basically. Check out her name. Okay, so she first appeared in 1973 in Iron Man 54. Her first name alias was Madam McEvil.
Nice. I was going to say Moonwalker. That was,
Madam McEvil, dude.
So I think about it. I thought the name was Moonwalker.
Yeah, it's like, what the hell is Madam McEvil? Right?
But Madam McEvil, that's about as bad as what was it, Mr. Sinister? We were talking last week.
Yeah, it's almost, it reminds me of like Evel Knievel. I mean, I'm wondering if that's how they figured it out.
Yeah, that was a big thing. Yeah, I actually have more hair than her.
Yeah.
believe it or not. So
Yeah, anyway, she started out as a probationary status at the same time as Beast did, right? In 137, back in 1973, and she's a low-level telekinetic, but she's like a enormously powerful telepath, right? She studied with monks on some other world planet or something like that, and master martial artist, geneticist, and engineer, and she also can fly like starships. So she's kind of like an off-roader, but she I think was born on Earth, but then became an off-roader. So and she's like really, really pompous. If you ever read her in the comics, she really thinks highly of herself because she can read people's minds. So she knows everything before everybody else does, evidently. So anyway, yep, that's Moondragon. So yep, and yeah, old Baldy, right? So we're gonna go into our last recruit from Avengers
this is Luthor.
151, and here, that's right, Peter. Madame McEvil was in the first Happy Meal. Okay, anyway,
Yeah, right next yeah.
and this person was Hellcat, was the third Avenger
Oh, wow.
that actually officially joined 151, and basically, again, probationary status because she was hanging out with them from 144 on 1976, and then basically became probation. Okay, so wait a minute. So her first appearance was in 144, then she became a probationary member in 148, and after 3 issues, then she became a full-fledged member. That's right. Anyway, she's sort of like Batgirl, right? Basically a well-trained martial artist and gymnast. Okay, psychic senses. Okay, Batgirl doesn't have that, right? This force field generation thing, I think it's been retconned. I don't think she ever had force field generation when she was actually on the Avengers. I think that's a retcon there. And wrist-mounted retractable claws and grappling hooks. Hence the name Hellcat, right? Because she has claws.
Right.
And
yeah, and Batgirl is pretty. She's like a master detective.
Yeah, and one thing I forgot to mention was that I'm gonna get back to Moondragon here. When you mentioned Drax the Destroyer, her dad was Drax the Destroyer, real life dad. Moondragon's dad. So you kind of see there's some continuity in there somewhere. But anyway, yeah. But getting back to Hellcat, yeah. So Batgirl, or discount Batgirl, if you will, or discount Batwoman. Is that a better? Maybe that'd be
even Catwoman here. I'm kind of thinking
Catwoman. Yeah.
Like because that cowl kind of looks like a Catwoman cowl.
Yeah. And Peter Griffin was actually talking about Damon Hellstrom. His AKA was basically the Son of Satan. Anyway, the Son of Satan
has Wolverine colors there.
Yeah, but anyway, the Son of Satan basically hooked up with Hellcat.
Nice.
Which makes sense, right? Because because Hell, and the Son of Satan, so they hooked up together while they were in the Defenders. So anyway, that's some weird trivia for you guys there. So now let's get into our next batch or next recruit here. So we're done with Avengers 151, those 3 new members, and we're going to go ahead here and talk about somebody that quote unquote officially joined back in Avengers 174 back in 1978, and he was only in the Avengers for maybe like two issues before he just took off again. And you will never guess this, dogs. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it here. That was none other than, believe it or not, Two Gun Kid.
Two Gun Kid.
The Two Gun Kid, yeah, and he's the second version of Two Gun Kid. His first appearance was in the old Marvel Comics title called Two Gun Kid, number 60, back in 1962. Okay, he got honorary status in the Avengers in 147, but he didn't become an official member until 174, obviously. And how he ended up being an Avenger was that him and his posse, one of the guys was named the Rawhide Kid, anyway, somehow got transported into the future, okay, and helped the Avengers out for a while. Yeah, anyway, the Two Gun Kid Okay, basically, and he's number 2. He's the second two-gun kid. Okay, so anyway, his abilities besides riding a horse, right, being a cowboy, was that he was an expert marksman with the ability to fire both his guns in perfect coordination.
You better have something, but
yeah,
there's some pretty powerful things on the Avengers. For the Lone Ranger to just show up and be like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna run the Avengers."
No. I forgot the Lone Ranger. Did he have 2 guns or 1 gun?
Oh, he had 2.
He had 2. Could he fire them in perfect coordination, or did he do this bang bang?
So he's the Lone Ranger.
Okay, all right.
If he wanted to, I'm sure. Yeah, he's a freaking Lone Ranger. Dude.
All right, man.
He's like a superhero. He's like Zorro or something, for better, But that's what I'm kind of thinking here is they took the Lone Ranger, but once you said the Rawhide, this is basically a homage to Clint Eastwood, and they were like, hey, let's put Clint Eastwood and we'll make him a superhero. Right?
Hey, it was the 70s, right? So
we'll put a mask on him, but everybody knows that's Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. So the Rawhide kid actually went back in his own time, but the two-gun kid decided to stay behind for whatever reason, right? But again, he basically hooked up with the Avengers for a while, and then he basically became official in issue 174. Then he just kind of like quit 176 or 175 after a couple of issues. He really didn't do much for the Avengers, really, honestly, right? I mean, because what can a cowboy do for the Avengers? He didn't have magic bullets, right? He just had a couple of Colt 45s, and then he was trained, not Colt 45s, Colt revolvers. Anyway, he might have had a couple of Colt 45s after, a mission, but anyway, he was a trained hand-to-hand combatant too, so maybe he punched some people with his gun or something like that.
Oh yeah, he's a cowboy. He can fight.
yeah.
Clint Eastwood became Philo Beto.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So.
Mm-hmm. And
show you.
Let's see. So who we got in the chat here? So we got Madeline, we got Peter Griffin, we got John Taylor. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming out here. We're just going through our Avengers rosters throughout the 70s. And after the two-gun kid in 1978, when he joined, comes someone that joins in 1979. Issue
that's
1.
George the Animal Steel.
What?
I said that's George the Animal Steel.
That's probably who he was modeled after, but that's not quite him. But that was none other than our favorite socially progressive superheroine, Miss Marvel. And Miss Marvel joins the Avengers in 1979, issue 183. Her first appearance was in Miss Marvel number 1. Okay, that was a brand new created character back in 1977. And here's a trivia fun fact for you here, dog, was that Miss Marvel was the first character who fought for equal pay for equal work in her civilian identity as a woman. That was how socially progressive that character was.
And in 1977, that's when that finally happened?
Yeah, in the comics, yeah.
And now she took over for Mr. Marvel, right? Or wasn't it?
For a while there was a Captain Marvel who looked exactly like her, but like a blonde, like a male version, but he died of cancer.
Right.
Back in 82.
And then but just thinking about all the stuff they had done with the X-Men were definitely around at this time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And how we talked about how they had really tackled a lot of social issues.
Yeah.
And it seems like it really took a long time to finally, kind of drive that one home finally.
Yeah. I mean, the new X-Men kind of tackled the diversity issue, right? The racial diversity issue.
Yeah.
But in her comic, they tackled the sex, the feminist kind of issue, the feminist movement, if you will, back during that time. And pretty powerful character, right? Half human, half Kree. Alien species that you may or may not be familiar with, but superhuman strength, speed, endurance, and stamina, and energy absorption and projection and flight. She's like Shazam, right? Without having to say the word Shazam. And so that was her 70s outfit, which was in the early 80s outfit, which was pretty cool, right? And then that was her original outfit there. but she was definitely the feminist prototype, if you will, feminist superhero heroine. And speaking of George Animal Steel, this guy's name was the Absorbing Man. His power is basically he can basically absorb any kind of punishment you threw at him.
And George the Animal Steel.
Exactly. Yeah.
Come to think of it, it was like
That's what he did.
whenever he got beat, it was like because somebody had to like do like a small package on him or something like that, but it was never because somebody just like was able to like do any type of damage to him. George nasty.
Yeah, so that is Miss Marvel, and we have one last person that joins in issue 184. Okay, right after Miss Marvel in 1979. And this person is not on the cover, but they're still fighting Absorbing Man.
I'm gonna say Falcon or somebody like that.
Yeah, so let's look at those Absorbing Man, right? So basically, he's absorbing all these attacks, and he's growing bigger and bigger.
Yeah, he's like kind of Hulk, except for the more damage this guy takes, the stronger he gets, as opposed to his anger.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Absorbing Man is like the ultimate tank, right? Almost.
So yeah, you want to like just start putting band-aids on him or something like that. It'd probably get the first aid kit out, and that would probably take out Absorbing Man.
Yeah, could be. Anyway, so basically, our last Avenger in the 70s was none other than Captain America's former partner, Falcon.
Oh.
Yeah, he's in the MCU, right? He's an Avenger in the MCU. I think he's still Captain America's boy, right? In the MCU, right? He's like are they homeboys?
Spoilers, Oh yeah. He's his buddy all the way through it. So.
Yeah.
Have you seen like Winter Soldier?
Nope, I didn't see the movie.
That's a good one. That was my favorite out of all the MCU films. I really enjoyed that one. And he plays a big role.
Wait a minute. The Falcon becomes Captain America at the end of Infinity War, right? Endgame.
Well, it's kind of alluded to that.
Yeah.
He
gets the shield.
Steve Rogers gives him the shield because he's old now. He went back in time and put the Infinity Stones where they were supposed to be. But he went and he lived his life with, I forgot her name. I'm fired, but his gal he loved her, whatever, back in the day.
Yeah.
He lived his life with her, and then when he came back, he just gave the shield to Falcon. But now does that mean he's going to be Captain America?
Well, when in the comics, Captain America was succeeded by a guy named U.S. Agent, right?
And then Bucky Barnes also played.
Yeah, but check this out. So anyway, John Taylor, welcome, John. He says Absorbing Man is part of the Wrecking Crew. I guess it was a gang of supervillains back in the heyday, in the 70s heyday. I think the Sandman was part of that Wrecking Crew, right?
Sandman?
Yeah, I think Sandman was part of the Wrecking Crew.
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Was the Rhino part of the Wrecking Crew? Anyway,
he sounds like he would be.
Yeah. So John Taylor, look up the Wrecking Crew and tell me who's in it. But I'm pretty sure maybe the Sandman was in it. I'm not sure about the Rhino, but he could have been in there too. So
I would,
anyway,
Scorpion maybe not.
Yeah.
Or those guys are kind of in that Sinister Six. They kind of stuck together.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Mysterio was part of the Wrecking Crew, though, or Electro. Those guys would never be in the Wrecking Crew.
Yeah, I could see Sandman.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, definitely Sandman for sure.
Spider-Man had the best villains, though.
Yeah, but everybody says Batman has the best villains.
That's true too.
I don't know. I mean,
Marvel side, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Marvel fan. I mean, I don't know much at all about DC, except for the Vertical comics. So
Batman has some good villains, but his stories are so. I love the detective type of stories like that. So
yeah, but I mean, the Falcon, I mean, he's basically an expert bird trainer. Okay, skilled hand-to-hand combatant, right? Martial artist, aerialist, acrobat, and the same thing that everybody else has. He has those special wings, right? That's I think Shield probably developed the wings for him, tactician strategist, and basically he has a telepathic link with all birds, which I think was also a retcon. So I don't think he had that link back when he was first introduced. So anyway, that is it and that is it, guys, for the 1970s. Believe it or not, we only had 8 actual official recruits join the main Avengers team back in the 1970s. So that basically puts us up to about 22. We have 14 in the 60s. Now we have 8 in the 70s. That's 22, and more to come in the 80s. And then all hell breaks out in the late 80s when you have all these splinter teams that I won't talk about. I'll just talk about in this series just basically who joins the main team based in New York City, and basically lives in an Avengers mansion with Jarvis. So anyway, to recap, we have the Black Widow, then Mantis, then Beast, Moondragon, and Hellcat. Then we have the Two-Gun Kid with his Colt revolvers, and Miss Marvel and Falcon. And that pretty much closes out the 70s. Guys, and in the 80s, in the early 80s especially, you might see some pretty big names come on board. One of my favorite Avengers comes on board in the early 80s that you might recognize, even though he actually appeared in Avengers #9. That was a hit, as a hint, like almost 20 years before. But anyway, he's a pretty cool character. And anyway, there it is. Okay, so John Taylor looked it up, and I was completely wrong. The Wrecking Crew had the Wrecker. That makes sense. Bulldozer, Pile Driver, and Thunderball. Driver. Absorbing Man, I guess, is in there as well.
See that? They used the word Pile Driver, which is a wrestling term.
Uh-huh. Thunderball?
And they had George the Animal Steel on the cover, too.
Right. Okay, I'm sure the Wrecker is probably some guy with a crowbar, right? Is my guess. I don't know. So anyway, that is it, dog. For I guess the stream in terms of this stream in the 70s. Any last words? Looking forward to the 80s, dog.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the 80s. One of my most favorite times. It's kind of my growing up time.
Yeah.
Because we just got past the Star Wars era now. So 1980s. Now will be the Ronald Reagan era of pretty much that decade. So it'll be interesting to kind of go through and see the costumes and maybe some of the social issues that they were trying to tackle as well. How they progressed. It's kind of fun.
Yep, and remember, disco is going out, and we're getting new wave in here now. So some different kind of Avengers start showing up here in the 80s, and that will be next week, hopefully Monday or Tuesday for that stream. And after that, we might have 2 more streams on the Avengers, and then I'll just pack away the Avengers and probably start with the X-Men, which is always a fun team, or maybe even the Defenders. So that was like one of my favorite comics as well. And the Defenders was crazy. I mean, seriously, there's a lot more heroes, I think, in the Defenders because they were never even organized in terms of being an actual team. But with that, guys, thanks a lot for coming out here and watching the stream. Thank you, Dog, for stopping by.
Oh, yeah, thank you for having me. So, that was a lot of fun, Mel. And thanks a lot, folks. Good to see you.
Yep, and have a happy Thanksgiving to you, Dog, and have a happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the chat.
Everybody.
And everybody who actually watches the stream later on. So with that, signing off, and I'll see you next time.